actually really impressed how everything is organized. I think this is very well executed for an esports event and one of the most professional, if not the most professional esports events in the world.
It was such a great experience to be able to go up there and present to the Gran Turismo audience, and the reaction that we had there was something I could never have expected.
2023 Barcelona Finals is my third event with Gran Turismo, and I will sum this up with two words, very close to Brembo really. One is passion. I see a lot of passion here from everybody, from the drivers, from the organization, from the people. Everybody here is full of passion. And I would say attention to detail.
The most exciting part for us is we actually got third place, which was fantastic. And being able to go up there and share that experience with the drivers was even more rewarding.
20 years of common histories in parallel, passion for design, passion for excitement, and we managed to find a common project, and it feels amazing to experience this with our friends of Gran Turismo and to see the reaction of the people.
C'est très appréciable de voir dans cette compétition le niveau de compétitivité très élevé et à la fois l'immense respect qu'il y a entre les concurrents. Et ils peuvent se battre jusqu'à la fin et faire profiter à tous les viewers de la meilleure expérience possible en live.
I cannot say this is a game. Already this is a real racing in a competition, and they are so serious. Some members got so nervous, but still that competition is so gentle and clean, and I really respect what they are doing.
今年のテーマは、ライブオーディエンスを再び招き入れて、オーディエンスがいる状態でライブをするということだったんですね。で、それはすごく成功したんじゃないかなと思います。 もう6年目になるわけですけれども、年々で選手のレベル上がってるんですけれども、本当に今年は極めて高いレベルのレースが行われて、でかつ新しい選手たちもものすごい才能を持った選手たちもたくさん現れてきたな、そういう印象ですね。
I have been competing here in the World Final since 2018. It's been actually quite long to think about it. And then changing the format and everything, there is a lot more competitors that have joined in the event as well. The level is increasing.
Evolution of the competition every year, it just gets more and more difficult to qualify for these events. And every year, it gets harder and harder to make it. So, I mean, the people here really are the best in the game.
そうですね、選手たちの未来に関しては先日放映されたグランツーリスモの映画でも描かれているようにこのグランツーリスモというですねソフトをきっかけにしてリアルなレースの方にも選手たちの未来が開かれているというふうに思いますので大いにその将来に対しては期待をしています。
I'm actually really impressed how everything is organized. I think this is very well executed for an esports event and one of the most professional, if not the most professional esports events in the world.
It was such a great experience to be able to go up there and present to the Gran Turismo audience, and the reaction that we had there was something I could never have expected.
2023 Barcelona Finals is my third event with Gran Turismo, and I will sum this up with two words, very close to Brembo really. One is passion. I see a lot of passion here from everybody, from the drivers, from the organization, from the people. Everybody here is full of passion. And I would say attention to detail.
The most exciting part for us is we actually got third place, which was fantastic, and being able to go up there and share that experience with the drivers was even more rewarding.
20 years of common histories in parallels, passion for design, passion for excitement, and we managed to find a common project, and it feels amazing to experience this with our friends of Gran Turismo and to see the reaction of the people.
C'est très appréciable de voir dans cette compétition le niveau de compétitivité très élevé et à la fois l'immense respect qu'il y a entre les concurrents. Et ils peuvent se battre jusqu'à la fin et faire profiter à tous les viewers de la meilleure expérience possible en live.
I cannot say this is a game. Already this is the real racing in the competition, and they are so serious. Some members got so nervous, but still that competition is so gentle and clean, and I really respect what they are doing.
今年のテーマは、ライブオーディエンスを再び招き入れてオーディエンスがいる状態でライブをするということだったんですね。でそれはすごく成功したんじゃないかなと思います。
Hello and welcome to the 2024 Gran Turismo World Series, coming to you live from Montreal in Canada. We are on round one of what is set to be an absolutely spectacular series of racing. Wow, yes, not since 2019 have we been back in the Americas. And we've managed to find a huge gaggle of the biggest Gran Turismo fans going. Let's say hi, everybody. I also realised that I've accidentally dressed like the Canadian flag too, so there is that. So to get to this point, the online qualifiers have been pretty fierce. I mean, we've only got the best of the best here right now to drive for you. We want to find out who exactly has got the stamina and the poise to, under all of this pressure, to see it through and take the win. So why don't we get the 2024 season underway? The Manufacturers' Cup features 12 teams of 3 drivers. These 12 were selected from the online series ranking. There's 1 player per team for each of these in the 3 global regions. 1 driver per team will race in each round. In the qualifying time trial, each driver will complete 1 attack lap. The results determine the grid position for the grand final race. In the grand final, 1 driver per team will race for World Series points, with only the top 6 places securing points.
Hello, welcome to the GT Desk for the first time in 2024. We cannot wait to get the World Series underway for you here with the Manufacturers' Cup tonight. First of all, let's get straight into it. Jimmy Broadbent, great to have you back once again. But the competition format for this year, I mean, it's going to be hugely exciting. Back to individual formats for Nations Cup, Manufacturer Series. We've got a whole season's worth. Every race is going to count.
Yeah, definitely. I think this format for the Manufacturers Cup is just fantastic. As you say, season-wide, so every race, every fixture, every moment counts for these guys over the course of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it's not just about us here in Montreal. It's wonderful to be here, don't get us wrong. But also, it's about you guys at home as well. And we like to give back. And that's why there's a chance to win $1 million in-game credits with the Gran Turismo World Series here this weekend. Have a look at this and see what it's all about, how you can get involved in the action.
Hey guys, don't forget that you can get involved with Gran Turismo World Series in Gran Turismo 7. This is with the bonus campaign. Click on the bonus campaign banner on the GT7 world map, and that's going to give you, the players, the opportunity to win 1 million credits for each of the Nations Cup and the Manufacturers Cup. Now remember, you can enter and vote right up until the start of the grand final of each of these series. Good luck! You guys love free stuff. Well, by simply watching the broadcast in-game, you're going to unlock 6-star roulette tickets. If you want to see how you compare to our Superstar Nations Cup competitors, you can head on to a new time trial in Gran Turismo 7 that's going to mirror the Nations Cup qualifying here in Montreal. Featuring the Red Bull X 2019 competition on the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, the time trial is going to be open for a few weeks.
So there we are, the campaign on Gran Turismo 7. Get yourself involved in the action. We'd love to have you as a part of the GT World Series in 2024. That's not all. We've got a bit of a special surprise coming for you a little bit later on as well. But more of that, again, later on. Let's get straight into action on track then, shall we, for this one. Manufacturers Cup, the qualifying time trial taking place here. 1 lap attack for our 12 drivers. Group 3 cars around the Autodromo de Interlagos.
Yeah, awesome circuit this. A circuit of very much 2 different styles. The main straight up at top there, all about top speed, whereas middle sector, all about a car that's good in that low and middle speed sections here. Here are your competitors then for round 1 here, of course. Great to see some familiar faces in there. Big change, of course. Angel Inostroza going to Team Subaru. Long-time Porsche driver, turning heel, it seems.
Yeah, he wants to be big in Japan, doesn't he, old Angel Inostroza? Subaru, of course, former Manufacturers Cup champions. I asked him about that move going into this weekend. He said simply, I want to win. Also, we've got Ferrari back in the Gran Turismo World Series for the first time in, I think, about 3 or 4 years, you know, JB.
Now, Salah, look at this list. See who's not there? Team Nissan, our champions from last year, not qualified for this event. As a massive Nissan fanboy myself, I'm just beside myself, Tom. It's the worst day ever. I can't believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, the online season obviously gave different drivers, different manufacturers an opportunity to get themselves in. Nissan, unfortunately, did not manage to make the grade. So you can see the drivers then getting themselves ready to go out on track. 1 lap of attack available, so that means they get 1 flying lap here to decide the grid for the race taking place here in the Manufacturers Cup later on here today. Jimmy, 1 lap. There's so much pressure on these drivers, and to add to that, there's an audience here as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's hard to do a qualifying lap anywhere, but to do it in front of a live audience here today with no mistakes, with some of the toughest competition in the world, rather than me, I think. Anyway, here is Dean Help from Team Genesis there, coming on to start, I think, his first flying lap at the moment. So, Help we've seen in the past. He's got the pace and a couple of very lovely GT tattoos as well, which I don't think has really helped him so far. But yeah, interesting to see how them and Genesis can get on there.
Well, Genesis fresh off the back of a podium in the World Finals last year. Let's not forget they've got good pace. They're a partner with Gran Turismo as well, so they automatically had a spot to qualify here. You can see him going through the centre S, nice and neat and tidy through there. A little bit tight on the entry into turn 2, but he gathers it up quite nicely. It's the run out of this left-hander all the way down this straight. You need to get as good an exit as you can. It's looking nice and neat and tidy as Dean Help comes down the Retroposta. Into this left-hander though, does he get the braking all okay and get the apex? He does. A little bit of mid-corner understeer, but otherwise all fine so far.
Yeah, great on-board camera here to give you an idea of what our competitors are seeing. Coming up out towards the middle sector, first of all, though, a very tricky double right-hander. We want to try and aim for the second apex there so you can get us a bigger run off to the exit as possible. Very wide there, almost at the risk of incurring the wrath of the track limit stewards. Don't want to be doing that, because that'll be your lap over straight away. Nice and neat and tidy, but maybe not quite as urgent. A little bit of oversteer there on exit. That is going to cost you a couple of hundredths, and every moment counts here. So down towards the last big braking zone on the circuit here. Flat, almost flat all the way down. Small lift to the front. We're now heavy on the brakes. Down into first gear for the best launch as possible. Second gear on exit and sideways again. Maybe trying a little bit too hard there is Dean.
Yeah, Dean might cost himself a few tenths of a second, as you say, and especially going through that left-hander. He's going to carry that all the way now as he's flat to the floor as he comes to the timing line. It's not been bad lap though from Dean Help. Let's see what the initial score on the door is going to be as he comes to break the beam. Over the timing line he goes, a 1:29.964. That's not too bad, but this man here, Igor Fraga, Brazilian driver, home circuit here at the Autodromo de Interlagos, and crucially, he's got form. He's won the Nations Cup and the Manufacturers Cup in previous years. He knows how to do it.
Yeah, Igor Fraga's always a man to watch here. Let's see what sort of time he puts on the board. Straight away up to the top of the timesheets. Betters Dean Helt's time and Genesis by 4/10 of a second. Lexus go up into P1 for now provisionally. Now Valerio Gallo, of course, another former Nations Cup champion here, this time in the Manufacturers Series in the NSX. It's been a very, he's been a Honda stalwart for a very long time, has Gallo. He knows the car inside out. Is it good enough though for pole? No, it's not for now. P2 for Valerio Gallo.
Be okay with that, but let's see what Alonso Regalado can do. Late entry into this weekend is the Peruvian driver. He's in the Ferrari 458. A little bit long in the tooth, this car now, but still not shy of pace. What about Regalado's lap, though, as he comes to the timing line? Can he do anything? Don't think it's going to be, is it? A 1:30, 1:78, so the slowest time that we've seen so far. Now, Adriano Carrazza, the second of our Brazilian drivers. We know the Toyota Supra is very handy in Group 3 trim. Carrazza taking a slightly wider line to the checkered flag as he comes to the timing line then to begin his one and only flying lap. Gets the widest line possible down into the centre. Actually, he was a little bit deep into that left-hander. That's costing him time. He's going to carry that on. And look how out of shape he gets for the next series of corners.
Completely missed the corner there. Lap's over before it's begun, really. Now all really Carrazza can do is just damage limitation, because let's see what it's like at the first sector compared to Prague. That cost him 0.8 of a second there, just getting the braking zone slightly wrong into T1. So, I mean, it's kind of safe to say that this isn't going to be a lap to remember for Carrazza here for Toyota.
Yeah, up the rise he goes through the right-hander. Smooth inputs on the throttle initially, and then he sort of backs off and back onto it again, such as the demands of this circuit. Wide, sweeping line through this right-hander, down the hill, through the left. It's not looking too bad in this middle sector of the lap, but the risk now for Carrazza is he may begin to overdrive the car ever so slightly, such as the mistake he made in that first part of the lap, which has really cost him any meaningful time. He's going to try and gather that up in the second and third sectors of this lap, but as I say, that runs the risk of just bringing in a few too many mistakes here.
Yeah, 1.2 seconds down the middle sector. Not a good lap, unfortunately, for Team Toyota and Adriano Carrazza. Nevertheless, he'll come up the hill to set a time on the board somewhere behind Regalado, but will it be the end of the grid by the time everyone else has had their lap? We'll see. But yeah, disappointing start there for Carrazza, I think.
Yeah, Carrazza coming through to the timing line. It's going to be, I think, the slowest time in the session so far, and indeed it is a 1:37.44 for the Brazilian driver. Now, what about this man here? New name, Nicolas Arriagada, 18 years old is the Chilean driver with the Audi R8 LMS Evo. Absolutely love this machine, and looking forward to seeing what Nicolas is going to be able to do, the youngster making his debut in the Gran Turismo World Series. No pressure at all as he comes to the timing line, 1:30.428, so he splits Regalado and Carrazza for the time being. What about Callum Roach then? The BMW M6 is his weapon of choice, the American driver here, coming through. Looking okay so far. Don't know if it's going to be anything to trouble the top scorer. In fact, he's lost a bit of time here in this final sector, hasn't he? But it's a 1:29.7. Not 1:29.997 for him, so that is fourth place at the moment then for him.
Jonathan Parker, also another American driver, this time in the Corvette representing Team Chevrolet. Not seen the speed of this car yet from this weekend, but can Parker unleash it here into Lagos? No, he can't. P6 for now. So right now, Igor Fraga still leading the timesheets as Guy Barbara, the Australian driver, I think just starting his hot lap now. So we're coming on to his hot lap. Let's watch him into T1. Let's see if we can get a better line than Carrazza did there. Yeah, that's what it's meant to look like. On the apex on the inside, opens up this right-hander, and then we get a nice run all the way through this long left. And basically, any mistake you make in those first couple of corners, you carry that for a very long time. It damages the lap pretty much beyond repair. Let's see what his first sector looks like compared to Fraga here. Oh, he's up by 0.08 of a second, so a nice first sector there for Guy Barbara, but it might also indicate that Mercedes is a little bit quicker in a straight line than Lexus.
Yeah, I wonder whether he's going to be able to carry all of that advantage throughout the second and third parts of this lap, as you say. Let's go through this right-hander. This will be the proof in the pudding. We've seen Mercedes in the Gran Turismo World Series for a good number of years now, but they haven't won for a long time. Back in 2019, oh, big snap of oversteer through the right-hander. That's just a little bit of overdriving there for Barbara. It's going to cost him time in that mid-sector, and you can see him now just pushing it to the outside curve as he tries to gain back the time that he's lost, I should say, and I wonder whether Barbara's going to be able to do that. You can see him there now just pushing oversteer on the car, and it's really scuppered what could have been a very promising lap.
So what happens? I mean, he's still only a 10th down, and we know he's got a long straight here, so this might still be a decent lap here from Guy Barber, but he just, as you say, suffering from just wanting to push that little bit harder in the car. The tyres only have a finite amount of grip. It's very easy to overcome that. But regardless, Guy Barber comes to the start-finish line. It's not a bad lap here for Team Mercedes. Will it be good enough to move up into the order? It is up into P2 there for Guy Barber. So a decent lap there, but you must wonder what could have been.
900ths of a second better than Valerio Gallo sees it with a provisional front row start and only 3 drivers left to run. What about Robbie Heck in the Mazda RX Vision GT3 concept then? The American driver aiming to break the beam and try and get himself onto the front row of the grid. But is it going to be enough for him? He has a sly look over to his right-hand side. He aims for the timing line. 127, 128 the timer counting up for him, and he goes up into 4th place. So not bad so far then for Mazda. Now, Angel Inestrosa, all eyes on him in the Porsche. New car for him. He's used to driving the 911. He's now in the Subaru BRZ. And we know that that car is pretty handy, but it's the straight line speed that's been its Achilles heel over the last few seasons. And it's a long run out of that left-hander. Inestrosa, though, on a bit of a flyer at the moment. He comes to the line. Oh, he's lost time in the 3rd sector. A 1:30.729. Now, this would really rub salt into the wound for Takuma Sasaki. He runs in a little bit wide, but he's in the Porsche 911, the car that Angel Inestrosa vacated earlier on this season. And if Sasaki can out-qualify Inestrosa, well, I can't imagine that's going to be doing the Chilean much out.
No, it's not. Coming to the line now, our last qualifier coming across the start-finish line to complete the set. What will it be for Sasaki and Porsche? He goes up into P2. A great effort there from Team Porsche. And you must be wondering, if you're Angel Inestrosa right now, who's just made the switch away from Porsche, was that the right decision?
Well, it's early to say, isn't it, really? May have made a mistake on that lap. We have seen a few of those. We only caught the end of it, but Takuma Sasaki doing a fantastic job there. 2nd place on the grid in the Porsche, just behind the former world champion Igor Fraga in the Lexus as well. Really close margins, actually. You can see there in the mid-pack. What have you got? Guy Barber, 129.8. You've got 129.8 in there, 128.99s in there as well. So really, really close quarters. And those half a tenth losses where you just get a snap of overstick can really cost you very dear.
Yeah, it's so easy to do that, and I think, of course, Guy Barber is probably the biggest example of that. I think that he could have been on pole position, but just a couple of moments in that mid-sector just, I think, unravelled his lap somewhat. So the driver's now taking a little bit of a break after that. Igor Fraga not looking too happy with that, despite the fact that it was a decent time from him, you know?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, he's a pretty cool cucumber, isn't he, Igor Fraga? And he knows that he's done the first part of the job, but he doesn't know exactly what the second part of the job is going to look like. And, well, as we know, in Gran Turismo World Series, anything can happen. And we're looking forward to seeing what is going to happen. So, yeah, really interesting qualifying session there. And the thing is, as we said earlier on, Jimmy, that one-lap format really can punish you. We saw that with Guy Barber. He was on a stonker of a 1st sector. And despite that wobble he had in the 2nd sector, he could have been on pole position if it wasn't for that.
It's super easy to do that because you're out there, you're qualifying, you're pushing as hard as you can. You know, that's what a qualifying lap is. It's everything or nothing. But it's very easy just to step over that imaginary grip line that you can't see, of course, when you're in the car. Have that moment, and then it's just all over you. But anyway, a reminder of what's just happened then. So we started off the session with Dean Helt for Team Genesis. He would set the early pace going on, but wouldn't be good enough to keep pole position for long because this man, Igor Fraga for Team Lexus, very, very quickly dethroned him.
Yep, Lexus, the Japanese Mercedes then, as Igor Fraga comes to the timing line to take the checker flag there, as you can see, and claim provisional pole position. We wonder whether anybody behind would be able to better that time. Given the fact that there were quite a few drivers left to run, it looks quite likely. We saw Gallo going up into 2nd, getting himself ahead of Dean Helt. Regalado, as he came to the line, went slowest of the lot in the Ferrari 458. Adriano Carrazza was hoping for better fortunes as he came to the timing line, but a mistake that he made in that 1st sector really compromised his run. Nicholas Arriagada, the Chilean driver, making his debut this weekend in the Audi R8. He came across the timing line to finish in 5th position. And you can see Callum Roach there in the BMW M6 GT3 machine as he came to take the checker flag. 4th fastest for him.
Donovan Parker as well. I mean, I think it's fair to say that there weren't really many surprises in terms of the manufacturers. But some of the quick guys were up there. We saw Team Honda, we saw Team Lexus, cars that have won in the past, of course, in the Manufacturers Series, just showing their pace here today. This was a surprise to me. Guy Barber in that Mercedes, he was definitely, I don't think I saw him, honestly, in the top 3. To see him there, really good effort from him. So, of course, Igor Fraga, Team Lexus on pole position, and looking a little bit, well, I wouldn't say happy, would he? He just looks like his normal self.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's have a look at the qualifying results then. As you can see, Igor Fraga, pole position for him by just under a tenth and a half of a second there from Takuma Sasaki. Guy Barber ahead to row 2, ahead of Valerio Gallo. Then Robbie Heck and Dean Helpbeck, an All-American, row 3, ahead of their compatriot Callum Roach. And then Regalado in Estroza, Parker, Irrigada, and Adriano Carrazza, the Brazilian driver on home soil. Bit of work to do for him coming into the race later on here today. Now, if you've just joined us in the Gran Turismo World Series, welcome along. It is the Manufacturers' Cup. Let's get you through into the season format of what it looks like in 2024. You can see we've got the Nations Cup and the Manufacturers' Cup. 12 drivers in the Nations Cup, 12 drivers in the Manufacturers' Cup. Seems simple enough so far. Here's where it starts to look a little bit different, though. We've got live events over the course of this season. You can see rounds 1, 2, and 3, Montreal, Prague, and Tokyo. The World Finals at an as-yet undisclosed location. Then the Nations Cup. We've got all 12 drivers in all 4 of those live events. But at the Manufacturers' Cup, we've got 12 different drivers at each of the events coming together in the World Finals. So we'll have 3 drivers apiece per manufacturer, and they're all going to score points over the course of this season. So there is a lot left to play for, and it really does mean that every position, every lap is going to count. And they really cannot leave anything on the table, because one small mistake, Jimmy, could cost you very dear, and it could cost you your chance at the championship.
Well, we've already seen that in the qualifying with Carrazza. You know, someone who's very strong in a very strong car with Team Toyota, and already on the back foot going into this cup. So it's a real shame for them, but it's still a long season. You know, it's not as if it's over, but not the best start for Team Toyota.
Not so far. Anyway, we've got bumper-to-bumper action here today. It's all condensed down into one day for this event here in Montreal. And of course, the Nations Cup, that's going to be coming along the way, right below, as you can see, later on here today. Looking forward to that kicking off, because as we know with the Nations Cup, it's back to an individual format for 2024, and that generally provides a little bit more fireworks than we've seen.
Yeah, I think that format is definitely the best for Nations Cup. But Manufacturers' Cup first. Here is the starting grid for our grand final of the Manufacturers' Cup. As you just saw, Igor Fraga and Team Lexus take pole position from Sasaki and Porsche in P2. Guy Barber in that AMG, great session for him in P3 with Gallo and Honda in P4. As we said before, a bit of a surprise for Team Toyota, usually very strong in the Manufacturers' Cup, all the way down in the P12, but it is a long race here, so it isn't over yet for Carrazza.
No, but they have given themselves a bit of a hard task to get into that race, and not where Carrazza would have wanted to be starting on the grid, especially considering the fact that Igor Fraga, his compatriot, has got it onto pole position. So we've got Brazilians at the front of the grid and a Brazilian at the back of the grid.
Well, at least it's neat and tidy. You know, what can you say about that?
Well, it's a bit of a Brazilian sandwich at the moment, isn't it? Anyway, let's get our 12 competitors onto stage here for the Manufacturers' Cup in the Gran Turismo World Series in Montreal in 2024. Please welcome, racing for Genesis here this weekend from the United States of America, it is Dean Helps. Dean from Brazil, Igor Fraga. He won the Nations Cup in 2021, and he's a former Olympic esports winner as well, for that matter. Driving the Honda from all the way from Italy, it's Valerio Gallo! Superb to see Ferrari back in the Gran Turismo World Series for the first time in a very long time, and spearheading their campaign here today, it is the Peruvian Alonso Regalado. Team Toyota's charge will be spearheaded by Adriano Carrazza, finished second at the World Tour in Tokyo in 2019 after a fantastic battle. Give it up for the Brazilian. Audi's charge will be spearheaded by the rookie, the 18-year-old. It is Nicholas Arriagada. A very promising talent from the United States of America. He's driving for BMW. Make some noise for Callum Roach. American driver and an American manufacturer driving for Chevrolet. The man who won the Porsche Rennsport Reunion event last year. It is Donovan Parker. Representing Mercedes-Benz AMG, who took their last win in the Manufacturers Series in 2019, all the way down under from Australia. Give it up for Guy Barbara! Seeking their first win in the Manufacturers Cup here tonight. It is Mazda, and they are spearheaded by the American driver, Robbie Heck. And last but certainly not least, all the way from Japan, he's representing, I beg your pardon, that, first of all, is Angel Inestrosa, who's driving for Team Subaru. And now last, but certainly not least, driving for Team Porsche. He won the Amsterdam World Series Showdown with the team last year, all the way from Japan. It's Takuma Sasaki! And now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask for you to stand, if you're able, for the national anthem of our host nation here in Canada. Well, the national anthem of Canada rings out here in Montreal as we get ready for the Manufacturers Cup to get underway. Now, Mazda have got themselves a bit of a tall order to get themselves a little bit further up the order than they would like, courtesy of Robbie Heck driving for that car, but also they've got a bit of an initiative going on at the moment, a bit of a game to real life sort of thing. Sound familiar?
Yeah, it does. I mean, great to see Mazda, of course, incorporating such things. As someone who's gone from the sim to the real life myself, to the real life, to the real life, the sim to a real car myself. I think these programs are super important. But let's hear a bit more about it.
Since 2022, Mazda has hosted the Mazda Spirit Racing GT Cup in Japan, which could be kind of considered the Mazda version of GT Academy. 9 drivers were selected from over 7,500 hopefuls to take part in 2023. The top players of the yearly rankings participate in the Mazda Spirit Racing Challenge program, the road from virtual to real. And they receive special training on a real circuit before participating in an endurance race. Since the first year of the competition, the program has had incredible success at getting virtual drivers onto real-life podiums.
So there we are. If it all goes Pete told for you at the Nordschleife, there's a home for you and Minty, I assume.
No, I'm not sure, to be honest. But the MX-5, I think, the perfect car to learn. And great to see that these programs are still going on, because I firmly believe that link between sim, real-life racing, tangible. It's there. Anyone who's good in sim, good in the real-life car.
Yeah, exactly. It's not exactly the same as going and sitting and playing a football game on the PlayStation and then going out and, kicking
I've tried.
with Euros in England. Mind you, given their performance so far, maybe it is. Anyway, let's go down to catch up with Jules then. She is with the man who starts on pole position for Team Lexus, Igor Fraga.
Yes, hi Igor, how are you doing? You want to just get going, right?
Yeah, exactly. All the other drivers are practicing now, and I'm like just watching them. So I was like, yeah.
He's like, keep it short. No, he didn't say that really. How did you feel? How was that? How comfortable was that for you? That qualifying?
I felt very comfortable with the car and everything. I think it's positive that I'm only doing one series because the physics and everything has changed here.
Yeah.
So I think I'm able to adapt better here and not doing like many championships.
Yeah,
it's helping me to get like a good performance here.
And then how are you finding it? Does it feel good? Does it feel nice?
Yeah, feel good. Yeah, feel nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And what's your strategy going into this then? What are you going to do? I mean, obviously you know the track pretty well.
Yeah, it would depend on what all the guys are gonna do as well. I think depending on the car, we'll be having a lot of different strategy for this one. So I think it should be very interesting.
I reckon he's probably going to do all right. Yeah. We're going to do all right. Yeah, all right, let's give up for Igor Fraga. Let's get you in. Let's go practice. Go on, just go.
Well, good to hear there from Igor Fraga. Good to see getting a bit of a quick run in as well.
Yeah, I mean, poor Igor.
Looking forward to this one. Let's have a look then, shall we, at the Autodromo de Interlagos. We just saw it in qualifying a few minutes ago. We love this circuit. Jimmy, 30 laps though here, and strategy to come into play with racing hard and soft tyres. It's going to make things pretty interesting.
It is a long race, this. As we said, qualifying, it does have some importance, but it's not over completely. You don't get the best position possible. Now, we do have a 3 times tyre wear rate here, which means that this is kind of what we expect to see for our strategy. Fairly simple, right? Either start on the softs or start on the hards. Now, I think those at the front of the grid are going to go for that soft tyre. As always, try and break away early, get some clear air, whereas those starting a bit further back will aim to use that hard tyre at the start of the race where they have to, where they can't use the soft tyre effectively. So it's just about using these tyres at the right time, but of course, that's just strategy in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in terms of drivers to watch, though, going into this one, I mean, you'd be hard to bet against Igor Fraga. We just saw him stick it on pole position. But I'm keen to see what Karatsa can do. He's starting right at the back of the field. Does that give him then an opportunity to try like an alternate strategy? Get sort of, I don't know, go ugly early, if you like. Get the hard tyres on the car and then run the softs when he'd be quicker at the end of the race.
Well, I think it's called an alternative strategy for a reason. It's not the ideal strategy, and he really has to now think of something special to be able to move up the field, because these guys are all these are the best drivers in the world at Gran Turismo, and you're asking Karatsa, all right, mate, just overtake 11 of them like it's nothing. Off you go.
Yeah,
So it's going to be really tough for him. But I'm looking out for Guy Barber. The reason why I'm saying that is I watched him practice earlier on for some of these races, and I've never seen such fat sends in my life. My word. So I mean, like, watch out for him. He's going to be quick.
He said to me, "Oh, it's nice to see your favourite Kiwi back," in a reference to the fact that I mistakenly identified him as a Kiwi about 3 years ago, and he's never let me
Doesn't
forget.
hold a grudge, does
No, not at all, not at all. Lovely bloke. Anyway, looking forward to getting this one underway. Now, as we said earlier on, a bit of a tease coming for you in Gran Turismo 7 over the course of the next few weeks. That's because there's a brand new update coming to the game with a lot more things, including new physics. Have a look at this and see what it's all about. So, new cars, new circuit, and new physics. What more could you ask for?
I'm looking forward to driving that in Pretzel, man. That looks awesome. I'm really looking forward to sliding that into a couple of walls, probably. But
Yeah.
amazing to see it back in GT.
Absolutely. Don't forget about the campaign thing that we're running here in Gran Turismo 7 as well. You can predict your winner. And here is how the votes are looking so far. Unsurprisingly, given that he started on a pole position, Igor Fraga has got 51% of the votes.
Can't believe you guys have done my boy Gallo like that. 4%, man. But yeah, a great opportunity then to get your hands on some in-game credits. If you are correct, of course, in your prediction, you will earn 1 million credits in-game. And as always, I have completely forgotten to do mine, so no credits for Jimmy.
Sad times for Jimmy Broadbent. Anyway, I was going to call you James Broadbent. It was James Broadbent for no apparent reason. Anyway, drivers are ready to go. Very much looking forward to this one. It is time then to kick off the 2024 Gran Turismo World Series. Action is about to begin here in the Manufacturers' Cup. The crowd are ready to go then here as the drivers are lining up on the grid. It is time for action to begin in 2024. Manufacturers' Cup then. Here is the first grid of the 2024 Gran Turismo World Series. Starting on pole position on home soil at the Autodromo de Interlagos, it is Igor Fraga. Takuma Sasaki joins him on the front row of the grid with Guy Barbara in the AMG Mercedes third. Next up is former Nations Cup champion Valerio Gallo. It's an All-American third row with Robbie Heck for Mazda spearheading that, just ahead of Dean Helt in the Genesis. Genesis fresh off the back of their podium last year in the World Finals. Callum Roach lines up 7th with Alonso Regalado in the Ferrari 458 Italia in 8th position. And Stroza, new challenge for him with the Subaru this year, not working out so far, down in 9th place on the grid. Donovan Parker rounding up the top 10. Nicholas Iriagada is in 11th in the Audi R8, and then Adriano Carrazza botched his qualifying lap in the Toyota Supra, giving himself a lot of work to do. Now, Jimmy, our first look at the tyres here, and we can see the top five, I should say, starting on the softs.
Yeah, unsurprising, really. If you're Igor Fraga at the head of this field, you want to try and get away as soon as possible. The worst possible thing on these opening laps is to get involved in a fight and lose time. That's how tight the margins are in these races. Towards the back of the field, of course, it's interesting to see it go down as far as 6th to 12th on that hard compound tyre. So we're going to have two groups at the start of this race. Let's see how it pans out over the course of 30 laps.
Yeah, really keen to see what Adriano Carrazza can do. You wonder whether he may have just gone, for the soft tyre to go and get those on in the early stages, but he's decided to go for the hard, decided to go for the same strategy as everybody else around him, and let's see what he will be able to do and what kind of progress he'll be able to make up in the field. His best hope, I'm sure, is to try and get himself to the head of the hard compound runners up into 6th place. Anyway, let's stop talking. Let's start racing. We're ready to go then. 2024 Gran Turismo World Series is underway here in Montreal as we go green at the Autodromo de Interlagos. Igor Fraga leads the field across the timing line down in towards the centre S. Sasaki in 2nd, Barbara in 3rd place. No moves being made courtesy of the rolling start, spreading that field out a little bit more. But the run through this left-hander on the run down the Retroposta could give us an opportunity to see some moves being made. Igor Fraga doesn't have the benefit of that slipstream, that hole being punched in the air in front of him, so he'll be a bit down on straight line speed, but he holds his lead for now as we come through to the left of turn 4. It's as you were at the front.
Yeah, difficult to overtake on this first lap. As you say, rolling start just spread the cars a little bit here. But now going into this middle sector, it seems that Gallo in the Honda has closed up onto the back of Guy Barbara, so ever so slightly, as has Barbara onto Sasaki. So the 2nd, 3rd and 4th very close right now. Already a penalty there for Arriagada. We have to think maybe for some track limits there. Carrazza up into P11. On board now with Valerio Gallo for Team Honda. Great view here of the train in front. Now you're on, it's the first lap now, so it's about trying to get into that rhythm as soon as possible. So any sort of weakness right now will just be magnified tenfold with the fact that the cars are all so close together. Coming now down to the last big break of the course. Oh, now it's just all about horsepower up the hill here. Now Gallo's out, Fraga is out front. He'll be giving a tow to Sasaki, Barbara and Gallo, who we are on board with now. Let's see what these cars are like in a straight line.
So, on board we ride here then with Gallo as we come to the timing line. He's closing up to the back of Barbara. Barbara in turn is not too far away from Takuma Sasaki. Sasaki is very handy in the straight line in that Porsche. Are we going to see Gallo go for a lunge to the inside when he closes up under braking? Karatza in at the end of the first lap, the only of the hard shot runners to do so. So I wonder if he's going to do an alternate strategy. Is he going to do a two-stopper here potentially, JB? Get onto the soft tyres and then do two stints on them potentially?
Yeah, I'll just have a look over at his rig there. Got onto the soft compound he goes. So he's just going aggressive early. Now he needs to do this. We mentioned this earlier on. He needs to find some way to insert himself in that pack out there. Now what he's done by putting himself in that soft compound tyre and pitting now is giving himself a massive gap. You can see on the top right-hand corner of your screen the track map. That last little arrow there, that's Karatza. He's got that gap just to drive into, and hopefully, well, he needs to find that time because he's got to make an extra pit stop as well.
So we see Fraga controlling the field out in front. Half a second the advantage he has over Takuma Sasaki. It's not a comfortable advantage by any stretch of the imagination, but we know that Fraga soaks up the pressure like a sponge. He's doing a fantastic job, as he always does, at the helm of this field. Very rarely does he make mistakes. You can see Dean Helt there, 6th place. He's in. He's got a flashing red light next to his name. That indicates he's picked up a penalty. Whether that's for track limits or for contact, I don't know. I would assume track limits, given the fact we've not seen any other graphics flashing up on the screen, indicating that he's got himself into some strife.
The red marker of doing that one. Never want to see that next to your name. Meanwhile, Gallo pretty much pushing Guy Barbara along on the straight here, already up the inside there. Now, who has the most horsepower? That AMG is quick in a straight line. As soon as Gallo pulled out of the slipstream there, the car just fell away from him. So this could be a challenge for him. Looks to the inside, late on the brakes, goes Valerio Gallo, dives up the inside there, parks it on the apex, defends the corner, up to third goes Valerio Gallo. That is the move of someone who's done that many, many times before.
Yeah, these guys have raced each other, of course, in the online season, but also they've been racing for a good number of years before that, so they know instinctively how the other driver is going to behave. You just get a set, sort of sixth sense almost, and Gallo sending it to the inside there, clean, decisive and clear. He needs to now be careful to not get involved in a squabble with Barbara if Barbara tries to retaliate, because it will allow Sasaki and Fraga to clear off into the sunset, essentially.
Now these guys, they are going to be looking back now, Fraga and Sasaki. They're going to realise that there has been a change in position. The fight at the back of the field at the moment is absolutely fantastic, by the way. We don't have it on our screens, but 8th, 9th and 10th having a fantastic scrap. We'll stay with Gallo for now, though, at the moment in this third group. Now, the question really remains is, can he now take the gap down between him and Sasaki? I think he's got the pace at the moment.
I think you're absolutely right, and as you say, that squabble going on further down the order that we were talking about there, that's Dean Helt. He served his penalty last lap, as we saw that flashing red light next to his name, and now he's involved in squabble with Regalado, Inestrosa, and also Donovan Parker in the mix there as well. Sasaki now beginning to close up, and Gallo bringing himself back into the rhythm, so the 2 becomes a 3 as they come out of that final corner and aim it for the timing line. Lap 320 about to begin. Lap 4 we are. Fraga still soaking up that pressure at the moment from Sasaki. Now you wonder whether Sasaki might try and do an undercut here to get himself past Igor Fraga, go for a lap longer on the softs, but Sasaki a lot of closing speed on the brakes into that first corner. Little bit of a warning sign. You can see further back you've got Robbie Heck now coming under some pressure as well from Guy Barbara, who's dropped back behind the Mazda driver. So it's not been a good couple of laps here for Guy Barbara as he now pops himself into the slipstream of the Mazda. Down the Retroposta we go. In front, we're side by side almost there as Sasaki and Gallo were going pretty much wheel to wheel into turn 4.
That was clever there from Guy Barbara. He could have thought that more and lost more time, but I think he knows that the guys in front had the pace over him, so he's basically going to get dragged along, and they're going to keep this pack of 5 cars together, which is important for everyone's race here. Now Gallo has moved right up onto the back of Sasaki after Sasaki's half move on Igor Fraga. He said he might try and undercut him, nearly just moved him into T1 there, so the stewards will have a keen eye on the racing here today. Now, through this middle section, it feels so slow compared to the rest of the circuit. You've got to be patient on that throttle pedal coming out of here, otherwise you start burning those rear tyres, and these soft tyres, they're pretty susceptible to wheel spin. If you get those spinning, you heat them up, and you can't really get them back into the window where they once were. So time management is crucial here, but you wouldn't believe it from the way these guys are driving.
Just having a look there, Alonso Regalado picking up a warning for bump drafting. That means he's sort of pushing Caleb Roach along in 6th position, and the stewards don't like that sort of thing. Also, further back, I'm looking at the gap that Karatsa had. It was 9 seconds a couple of laps ago. It's now down to 6 seconds. He, of course, is on a quicker combative tyre. He's lapping some 2 seconds faster as Gallo has a half look to the outside there of Sasaki into the first corner. But keep an eye out for that gap with Karatsa and Arriagada at the moment. That'll be crucial coming into the latter stages of the race, because he's still got to run that hard combative tyre. My bet is he'll try and do 2 stints now. That's where he's done the hard combative tyre. He did that on the first lap, but he's got to try and make up that deficit because he's doing an extra pit stop. So we'll see how it's all going to work out. Let's have a look here further back. This is Dean Helt. We're on board here with Donovan Parker. He just has a little bit of contact there with Angel Estrada as they go side by side down the start-finish straight. Parker's got the outside line. He's got track position down into T1. He goes up into 8th place. So there's a great nose-to-tail battle going on the fringes of the top 10. And this is all for those important points.
Yeah, as mentioned before, we've sort of got 2 groups running that will come back together when these strategies all converge towards the end of the race. To give you some idea of how that soft tyre is comparing to the hard tyre right now, Karatsa has gained about 4 seconds on the car in front since he pitted on that alternative strategy. Karatsa down in 12th place with Team Toyota right now. Meanwhile, go back to the action now. Robbie Heck, at the moment, the person we were on board with, just ahead of us right now with Guy Barbara, Heck has the fastest lap of anyone in that Mazda. So there is speed in that Mazda, it seems. It's not quite over the course of 1 lap, but all 5 cars still within about 1.5 seconds of each other. So this race is anyone's at this point. Fraga doing, as you said before, a really great job of just sort of driving them around, keeping them there. Meanwhile, Sasaki happened to go defensive from Gallo. Gallo looking around the outside now in the NSX. Can he make this stick? Trying the long way around to be on the inside, though, for this right-hander. It's getting very tight as we go through here. Now Sasaki has the alternative line on the inside and just about stays ahead for now. Look at the gap that's given Fraga instantly.
The problem with Sasaki is he's tighter onto that left-hander. It's compromised his run down this Retro Aposta. He goes for the defensive line, but Gallo's going to pull to the outside here. Sasaki moving over in the braking zone. The stewards are not going to like the look of that. Parks in on the apex of the corner. Again, there's going to compromise his run. Gallo pulls to the inside there as he challenges for second. As we come down into the right-hander, Sasaki's going to have track position here. Is he going to muscle out Gallo as Gallo tries to firm it around the outside in the Honda NSX? Surely Gallo's not going to be able to make this stick, and indeed he can't. Sasaki parks the car on the apex, tries to get the over and under, switching back on the inside. This is fantastic racing between these 2 drivers, and Sasaki defending. Gallo tries to send it to the inside, but Sasaki is still there, ready and waiting. And all the while they're doing this, Fraga's clearing off out in front.
That was some amazing racing there between Porsche and Honda. Sasaki and Gallo respectively, just showing that you can go wheel to wheel and not have contact. I mean, take note of that, F1, at some point if you want to. So, going up the hill now to come on to lap 7 of this race here at Interlagos. And Gallo's going to have another look. He's now desperate to get by. He knows he is faster at this stage. Here we are again, back in the draft, back in the slipstream, down towards T1. When he go outside again, he's trying the outside line once again. I don't think he's quite as close as he was. He's going to try and cut back in. I think what he's trying to do is just put Sasaki off his line a little bit through this complex and get a better run coming down the second straight here, but not quite as close as before. But as you said, all that going on, all those overtake opportunities means that Igor Fraga has now got a little bit of breathing room out front.
Keep an eye out for Guy Barber and Robbie Heck in the background as well, because it's gone from a 2-way to a potential 4-way fight here as well as they come through the left-hander. That's the trophy these drivers all want to lay their hands on at the end of the season. Just a reminder of the competition format. We've got 12 drivers here. We'll have another new 12 drivers going into Prague later on this year, and then for Tokyo, likewise the same thing. All 3 of those drivers for that specific manufacturer will come together as a team of 3, and then we'll have the grand finals taking place later on this season. As we see Arriagada there just picking up a warning for colliding with another car. Fraga, 1.3 seconds. The gap has kind of stabilised out in front. Karatsa, meanwhile, right at the back of the field. He's closed right up to within half a second of Donovan Parker, courtesy of those soft tyres.
So that's actually a bit of a disaster for Karatsa, because now he's back where he started, trying to get through the cars on the slower compounded tyres, but burning his soft tyre at the same time. Saying that, he goes up into P11. So we'll keep an eye on Karatsa down in P11.
2 seconds faster per lap, though, is Karatsa at the moment. So you imagine he's going to try and make easy work of those drivers in front. But the thing is, like you say, you've still got to run a slower lap time because you're working your way through traffic.
It just depends where you catch him. If you get him on the corner exit, lovely. But if you're trying to catch him for the middle sector where everyone is on one line, you're just wasting the life of that soft compounder tyre, and it can really come back to haunt you as the race goes on. Now, the gap to the front, I'd say that Fraga isn't actually the quickest of this pack at the moment. I'd say he isn't quite the quickest of the three. Now, here's a replay. Here is Heck and Barbara going down towards T1. What happens here?
Down into the breaking down. Sasaki versus
Gallo again.
Yeah, and then Heck versus Barbara. Barbara tried to send it to the inside. Heck said, no way, and I'm going to hold on to fourth place. We see Barbara right on that rear wing. Heck running a little bit wide. Was there a smattering of contact maybe through the second part of that corner? They ran side by side down this back straight, and is Heck going to be able to get the advantage with Barbara on the outside there? Barbara's got the inside line. Does he run it a bit deep? Yeah, he does, and Heck is just going to try and close up, but Barbara does manage to get himself back into fourth place eventually.
So that was going on while we had that awesome battle with Sasaki and Gallo. So I think nice to go back and see that. We can't unfortunately get two things at the same time. Of course, we try our best. But the gap is coming down at the front, down to a second now. So there is speed in this pack. I get the impression that maybe Igor is just sort of controlling this a little bit. Maybe just saving the tyres, saving the fuel, taking it nice and easy. Arriagada there does pick up a penalty. So yeah, unfortunately for him, things go from bad to worse. Karatsa getting a warning for colliding with another car. How often have we seen that on our screens?
Yeah, he's not afraid of getting his elbows out, is Adriano Karatsa. And the thing is, like you say, he's admired in that pack at the moment. He's got to make his way through the traffic if he's hitting the traffic at the wrong time. Even the fact that closing speed might just be that little bit closer as well. As we sit on board here with Valerio Gallo, he's got box office seats to the battle in front with Takuma Sasaki and Igor Fraga. The gap has now come down. It's under a second. So Sasaki's going to be back into slipstreaming range at this point now, and of course Fraga doesn't have the hole being punched in the air in front of him.
Yeah, everyone on the soft compounder tyre was quicker than Igor Fraga on that lap, actually, apart from Karatsa, who got caught in traffic. His last lap time, Karatsa on that soft tyre, 32.1. All these guys are doing 31.0s, so that's the difference, just trying to get through that traffic there. But again, we'll keep an eye on it. So still on board with Valerio Gallo. He's just a bit quicker through this mid-section. I don't know if he's burning the tyre more. I don't know if his car is better suited to this circuit than the Porsche in front, but he just seems to have that little bit more pace at the moment, but there's just nowhere to go, nowhere to use it.
Well, we'll see what happens here for Valerio Gallo. At the moment, he's driving a really good race because he's in that unfortunate position of having to attack and defend at the same time. So he's got to keep an eye on his mirrors of Guy Barbara behind, but also doesn't want to let Takuma Sasaki get too far out in front. At the moment, you can see the gap now visibly coming down for the race lead here with Igor Fraga, half a second. So has he pushed his tyres that little bit too hard too soon? You can look at the front tyres on that Lexus down to 18%. So he's going to have no grip left. Is he going to be coming into the pits at the end of this lap to get those soft tyres off? He is. Fraga boxes early at the end of lap 9. That is a bit of a surprise. We're kind of getting to the pit window. You can see another couple of other drivers following him through there. They want to stay as part of that pack, but crucially, Sasaki and Barbara feel okay with their car so far. They're carrying on.
They go onto soft as well, so they're going for the two-stop strategy, and you have to use both compounder tyres, so that's interesting to see that there as we come on now out of the pit lane. Now, as they've gone onto the soft compounder tyre, this overcut from Sasaki I don't think is going to work. These guys are going to be a little bit quicker, well, they should be anyway, on their outlap than Sasaki is now, but it'll be interesting to see what the Porsche driver can do in clear air, because as we said, they all moved up into the back, but I'm really surprised by the tyre wear on that Lexus. That was awful compared to the cars around it.
I'll tell you who that might scupper as well as Adriano Karatsa. We wondered if he was doing a bold, different strategy, going for a two-stopper in that race, but if everyone else is doing the same, it kind of negates that advantage, doesn't it?
I think it'll be a three-stopper for him in the end. I think he has to do that. So, but that all started with 1 more second qualifying, just shows you how close it is here in the World Series Manufacturers Cup. 10 laps on the board, 20 to go. We're looking at Igor Fraga, who we believe will be our leader once all is said and done. Sasaki and Guy Barbara opting to stay out for one more lap on their soft tyres. We'll see if they're coming now. Barbara actually benefiting, I think, from the tow from Sasaki. I mean, at the moment, these top 5 cars are really not separated by anything. It's anybody's game. Will we see these guys now peel into the pit lane? Sasaki goes for one more lap, and Guy Barbara, though, dives into the pit lane. So, do you think we're going to see a one-stop attempt for Sasaki?
You see Dean Helt there as well. He's picked up a penalty. He's gone from bad to worse for Genesis, down in 12th position at the moment. Into the pits then comes Guy Barbara. So soft again, like the others around him. And he, as you said, has gone for 1 lap longer. The advantage for that is that he's going to have 1 lap fresher tyres when everybody else comes into box.
See where he comes out then. You can see the mini-map. Here comes Fraga, here comes Gallo. Barbara is just the other side of that barrier at the moment. Fraga comes out just ahead then of the Australian driver. There is Gallo, Heck then behind. Where has Barbara come out? Oh, he's behind the pack there. So that was definitely the worst decision there to stay out on that tyre. But he is still, importantly, within that slipstream range. And if you're still there, if you're still within the range of that toe, you're still pretty much there in that pack. Now, Karatz is coming in. The first person to stop goes for his second stop onto a fresh set of those soft tyres. Parker coming in, coming off the hard tyre onto the soft as well. So the race starting to get into the strategic elements now. We'll try and keep track of all these pit stops here up on the desk.
Just having a look at the sector times there between Sasaki and Fraga, just to give you an idea of the difference as well. Sasaki 23.1 in sector 1, Fraga 22.7, half a second there and thereabouts quicker than the man in second place who's on the fresher soft compound tyres.
And again, the quickest man on circuit right now is Robbie Heck in that Mazda. He is the fastest first sector of anyone, saying that though Igor Fraga has just done the fastest middle sector of anyone. Will Sasaki stay out again?
Nearly 9/10 of a second faster in that second sector was Igor Fraga. He's chomping into that leader. Sasaki then comes into the pit lane then. Where's he going to go in terms of strategy? Is he going to diverge compared to his colleagues around him? I don't think he's going to have the opportunity to do so. If he does, it's going to really cost him quite dearly indeed. Soft tyres onto soft tyres, but crucially, where's he going to emerge in relation to those other four drivers?
So why would he go on to soft tyres a couple of laps later? You're probably asking. Now, this buys him basically a couple more laps in the soft at the end of the race compared to others who will likely have to go to the hards earlier. So let's see. Igor Fraga then leads the race from Valerio Gallo. Where is Sasaki? He comes out, it looks like, behind Guy Barbara. So after all that, Porsche down from second to fifth position. But it's a long race yet, and I think this is a strategic call for the end of the race. But for now, down to P5.
2 laps newer tyres as well, he'll have at the end of this stint, which could prove to pay dividends for him. So he might be playing the long game here to Takuma Sasaki, just to try and see whether it works to give him an advantage later on in the race. Meanwhile, further back, Caleb Roach there with Alonso Regalado, Angel Enestrosa for company as they come and flick it through that right-hander. You can see Regalado in the Ferrari 458. It's not been a particularly happy hunting ground for him here so far as he flicks it through. He's keeping an eye out for that mirror full of Angel Enestrosa at the moment in the Subaru Impreza, sorry, the Subaru, I should say BRZ, which hasn't particularly been a happy debut for him in that car so far.
Well, I've not seen much of these guys yet. We've been focusing on the pack at the front, but these guys will become a bit more relevant as the race goes on. So it's Roach, Regalado and Enestrosa. As we said before, that Subaru has always been a fairly decent bet if you want to try and predict who's going to win that, of course. Right now, it's down in 8th position. Let's look at the tyre life. Very, very good on its rear tyres is that Subaru. But I think it's owing to the fact it's a little bit lighter than the cars around it, but you can see now the downside to it being lighter. It also has less power and just being pulled away from by Regalado and by Roach. Regalado goes to the inside then of the American driver. Can you get a move made into T1? Roach very, very late on the brakes there, keeping Regalado on the alternative line. Now a little bit of him, so here comes Enestrosa sideways as Roach carries it up. Is Enestrosa going to go around all of them? He's there side by side now, but he's not quite got the power of the BMW as we go now down towards the left-hander. Can he make the move stick? No, I think he's stuck on the inside. Regalado looking there as well. Free wide into the corner down the bottom. Oh my word, they're still haven't finished, Tom.
No, they're still going on for it. I wonder if the stewards might be having a look at Callum Roach there, because he was pretty aggressive on Regalado through that first corner. There was a bit of contact. He just shut the line off. Enestrosa, though, is on the inside now of Regalado as we come up the rise, and he's got the position back ahead of the Peruvian driver. Has a half look there at Roach, but no room at the inn for now as we come running down the hill. Nose to tail action. These are the hard compound runners, so the race is going to come to them a little bit later on. They're doing the worst stint that they have to do in this race early on. They're going to get that out of the way, and then the race will come to them when they've got those soft compound tyres. Will this be a strategy that works out? Well, the problem is, while they're battling amongst one another, they're costing themselves time. So it's costing them time later, effectively, in the race.
I couldn't say it better myself. I mean, we'd love to see a battle here, of course. It's the best part of watching any of these races, but for their actual races themselves, it does cost them time. And again, you're seeing the difference between the cars here. Enestrosa, so fast in the middle, but then can do nothing to defend on the straight. Here comes Regalado, but I imagine Enestrosa is going to try and outbrake him down towards T1. Regalado does move ahead on the outside. Enestrosa holds him though there. Regalado has the inside line. Will there be any more contact as we saw last lap? No, Enestrosa does hold him there for now, but watch him. He'll be a sitting duck down the straight.
Yeah, that Subaru, as we know, not the fastest car in a straight line. Enestrosa knows that, goes for the defensive line then. Regalado in the Ferrari 458, powering powering his way to the outside. Is he powering his way up into 6th place? Well, Regalado isn't able to get ahead as Inestrosa defends the inside line, but he has a great run through the second part of that corner, and Inestrosa knows that. All the while, up in front, you've got Rose clearing off, a second off into the distance. Side by side we go. Regalado on the outside, Inestrosa on the inside. Fantastic racing here between these two, and it is Inestrosa who manages to retain the position ahead of Regalado for now.
Yeah, but doing so, they're just hemorrhaging time to the cars around them at the moment. Again, great for Roach, as mentioned before. He gets a little bit of breathing. The gap now up to 1 second as Regalado again trying to find a way past the BRZ in the mid-sector. You're not going to find somewhere there for that car. Interestingly, up in the 3rd position, we've had a change of position. Guy Barbara taking the place away from Robbie Heck, and both of them have really fallen down away from Gallo and Fraga. 3 seconds now is the gap between 3rd and 2nd, so it looks like it's now turned into a 2-horse race at the front between two former Nations Cup champions. These two drivers are two of the fastest Gran Turismo drivers we have ever seen, and halfway through the race they're separated by 7/10 of a second, with seemingly Gallo, the chasing driver, a little bit quicker at this stage. Gallo also currently holding the fastest lap of the race, the only man to go underneath 1 minute 30, 1:29.8 the lap from Gallo that has him the fastest lap at the moment.
So Gallo there closing up onto the back. It's become a two-way scrap out in front in this race. Barbara, though, still with Heck breathing down the back of his neck at the moment as they come through the right-hander. Barbara's not going to do anything too rash in terms of his defensive lines through there at the moment, but these three running nose to tail. It's upset Sasaki's race as we look here at Barbara. This is the move. Did Heck make a mistake going through the left-hander? It looks like he made a mistake the corner before it. He got himself all out of shape, ran it onto the curb there into the left, and that allowed Guy Barbara to go through, as he said, thanks very much, and got up onto the podium.
I think he's heated those rear tyres up a little bit, Tom. Now, we mentioned that a bit earlier on. He just seems that he's having real trouble getting the traction down in that Mazda. Let's watch him again through here. Let's see how he manages the exit this time. We get a nice view from Sasaki there, who actually I think is the biggest victim of all of these guys, choosing to box a couple laps later, and now he's stuck here. He's stuck about 4-5 seconds off the lead, where before he was fighting for it. Now right into the toe again, right into the slipstream, looking around. What's that Porsche like in a straight line? Not quite quick enough to pull alongside. We see a late dive, both of them moving in the braking zone there. Sasaki looking up the inside. Will Heck defend? He's got by him there. Heck now has the inside line. Will he drive him to the curb? No, straight around the outside goes Sasaki. That was a confident move, Tom.
Love that from Takuma Sasaki, and he needs to do that because he can see his chances of victory slipping through his fingers. He wants to get onto the podium, wants to get those points back as well, does Takuma Sasaki. 4 points awarded for 3rd place, 3 points awarded for 4th place, and that could be critical at the end of the season. Inestrosa off the hard tyres, finally for him, goes onto the soft compound of tyres. Where's he going to emerge? There's Dean Helt just to his right-hand side in the Genesis. Helt, of course, on an alternative strategy, so will it give Inestrosa a little bit of clear air if he's able to get himself ahead of the Genesis driver? That will be the best case scenario for the Chilean.
I think, honestly, for Subaru and Inestrosa, this race could have gone a bit better for those guys so far. They've been caught up in a lot of battles. The pace hasn't been that good on the hard compound of tyres. It's going to really take a lot to catch these guys at the front. The pace at the front now is fantastic. A 30.2 last lap from Gallo, 30.4 last lap from Igor Fraga, faster than anyone else in the field at the moment. And I've got a feeling we're going to have a showdown here very soon between these two titans, Lexus and Honda. Fraga and Gallo, as we come on now to lap 17 of 30. We're in the tow on board with Valerio Gallo, who actually, interestingly, pulls out of the tow there. Now, why would he do that?
I wonder if he's just trying to keep his powder dry for now, just not wanting to show his cards too soon. Sure, he could go for a lunge on the inside, but he could also cost himself a lot more than he's set to gain there. Just for a snap of oversteer mid-corner for the Honda driver. So he's certainly pushing on. He's not like he's driving well within his limits, but yeah, I just wonder if he's just waiting for the right opportunity to strike later in the race, maybe.
Yeah, he lost a chunk of time there, about half a second there to Fraga through T1, so it just shows you one mistake cost you quite a bit of time here.
Takuma Sasaki there needs a little bit of a booster cushion, doesn't he? You can barely see the steering wheel from that camera angle at the moment.
As a fellow short king, don't be calling him out like that, all right? Don't be calling him out.
To be
like
fair,
that.
I was waiting for you to make a reference. It was only a matter of time, wasn't it? Takuma Sasaki then right in the wheel tracks here of Guy Barbara over the rise. And the thing is, Sasaki will know that he has an opportunity of victory, and he doesn't want to let that slip through his fingers. Maybe a podium is the best opportunity, but he'll still be angrier than a mosquito in a mannequin factory if he's not able to maximise the potential for Porsche here this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he's just being held up by Guy Barbara. Now, the question really remains, one, can he get by Guy Barbara? I think he can. I think he's got the pace. I think he's got the racecraft to make that move if he can get there. But then, can he then move on to the back of Gallo and Fraga? The gap between them now is a good 4 seconds between Sasaki and Igor Fraga, the leader. Now, interestingly, look at the tyres here. Gallo has really pushed on this stint. Those rear tyres looking pretty second-hand, and we did see him have a couple of slides. That is only going to get worse.
Sasaki then pulls to the inside here of Guy Barbara. Does he make the move this time around? Down the start-finish straight we go, into the centre edge, decisive, clean, and confident from Takuma Sasaki as he elevates himself now back up once again onto the podium here for TAG Heuer Porsche. Now, does Guy Barbara have anything left in his locker to try and retaliate? Out of turn 3, a flash of the light to try and distract Sasaki in the mirror, but Sasaki's got trap position, he's got more grip underneath him, and he's got third place as we head down into the left-hander of turn 4 as well. So now, next target, close the gap down to the leaders.
Yeah, Sasaki now has got to use this pace he has. He cannot afford to fight with Guy Barbara at all. He's already lost a chunk of time. The gap is down to 3.2 seconds at the moment, so we're getting quicker, but still a little way to go.
0.3 of a second faster was Sasaki on that lap last time around than Gallo and Fraga as well. So that is just the sort of carrot that Sasaki needs dangled in front of him at the moment. It is not over for Porsche and for Takuma Sasaki. Up through into the right-hander we go, and you can see him visibly there. A lot of confidence and a lot of pace, and this is going to really come to him, I'm sure, in the latter stages of this one.
Yeah, like a cork in a bottle there, he's really turned up the wick already. Through that middle sector, he was nearly half a second faster than Igor Fraga, so I don't think this race is over yet for Sasaki and Team Porsche. We've seen Gallo struggling on tyres, we've seen Fraga doesn't quite have the ultimate pace, so this is still far from over. Coming on to lap 19 there, Igor Fraga leading by only 0.3 of a second from this man, Valerio Gallo in Honda. Robbie Heck coming into the pits there fairly early for that second stop there for Team Mazda.
We saw him spinning up his rear tyres a few laps ago, didn't we? So if he's only hit to those tyres, he's used up the best of its life, then there's a good possibility that it's just high on tyre wear at this particular circuit, that Mazda. So maybe Robbie Heck's chance of a podium, maybe even a top 5 potentially off the cards, because Karatza's closed right up. He's in 6th place now. He's chopped off that gap by about 5 seconds over the last 5 laps as well. So Karatza on an absolute charge as things stand.
Bear in mind, if Sasaki, third place, can get onto the back of these guys for first and second, he has effectively tyres that are a couple of laps younger than the rest of the field, meaning that he'll have to spend a little bit less time on that hard compound of tyre. So something to think about, but also at this point, these two here are just losing time, hand over fist to Sasaki behind them. The gap now down to 2.9 seconds. I think now Valerio Gallo is aware of it. He said, you know what, okay, I'm being caught by the car behind. I can no longer stay here and wait behind Igor Fraga, who is playing the game. You see a little bit slower there on to the last corner. He's trying to back up Gallo in the NSX, but these guys have been racing together for a very long time. They know each other's moves at this point. They know the strengths and weaknesses of the manufacturers they represent. Will we see a move then down in towards T1? They're both coming into the pits actually, so at this point they're going nose to tail into the pits, so it's going to be a straight fight to the end of the race, both onto the hard tyre.
Yeah, I imagine so. Let's see what happens as they come into the box then. Fraga in first, of course, just up the road from Gallo. They're going soft. So they're going to try and do 1 lap on the hard tyre. There's no minimum tyre time. They only have to do a minimum of 1 lap on it. So I wonder whether they're going to make a final stop in this race and try and run that hard tyre for as short as they possibly can. Either way, this is music to the ears of Takuma Sasaki because it's released those 2 cars out in front. That means he's now in clear air with pace underneath him. He can just make hay whilst the sun shines, run his strategy and hope that this race comes to him in the latter stages, especially given how fast he's been.
I don't know if this is the right move for Gallo, going on to that hard compound of time. And this guy, he knows better than I do for sure at this point, but I just don't foresee that working. Bear in mind though, of course, because as you can see there, the history graph of our tyres being used, you have to use both compound tyres. So Sasaki, Barbara, Fraga as well, and Heck all need to make 1 more stop. At least Gallo, to his credit, doesn't have to stop again. So the question is, can Fraga open up a pit stop's worth of gap in 10 laps?
Well, time will tell. 10 laps left to run here in this grand final for the Manufacturers' Cup. Sasaki it is that leads then. Guy Barbara in second. Then you've got Gallo just behind Igor Fraga. I said just behind. That gap has increased quite a fair bit, actually, over the course of this outlap, given the fact that they were pretty much nose to tail and you couldn't separate them as they came into the pit lane. It's a much sort of more prominent gap now between those two, as to be expected, because Gallo, of course, is on that hard competent tyre. Now, Guy Barbara comes into the pit lane at the end of lap 20. Where's he going to go in terms of strategy? Is he going to go soft, or is he going to go for and put a hard on? Let's see as we come into the pit lane then. Hard tyres then for Guy Barbara as he exits out of the pits here at the Autodromo de Interlagos. Now, where is he going to emerge in relation to the likes of Fraga and Gallo around him? There is Sasaki, he's away up the road, running nice clear air, nice clean lap times as well, 1:31.2. So those tyres now beginning to fall off a cliff, as you can see them coming to the end of their useful shelf life. Barbara onto the hard tyres for what we're expecting to be his last stint in this race.
31.2 isn't terrible. It isn't great, but it isn't terrible. So there is still a little bit of life in that tyre there, but I just wonder how much longer he's going to go, because now it's the gap between himself and Fraga. They both need to use they both need to use a hard compounded tyre. So this, I guess, is the gap, unless Sasaki wants to pit again. So maybe Sasaki's played a masterclass here.
Well, let's wait and find out as we come down the back straight, or down the hill, I should say, rather, and then we get to run for the rise up to the timing line. Sasaki doing a good job, but I dare say he's probably going to be coming into the pits at the end of this lap. We saw him go a lap longer than his fellow competitors in the first stint of this race, and Sasaki, as he comes through, does not come into the pit lane at the end of lap 21, so he's just quite happy to carry on. 31.2 for him last time around. Comes to the time line 31.5, so about 0.3 of a second slower. Now those tyres are beginning to go off, but he's running okay so far.
I'm just keeping an eye on the lap times for those who have opted to go to that hard compounded tyre. We're going to get one from Gallo very soon, coming across the start-finish line. He's on 32.4, which is 1 second, give or take, slower than Sasaki in first. So I really think going to that hard tyre early wasn't it. I think it's the sort of typical game of the hard tyre is lava here, trying to avoid it. Anyway, here's a replay between Heck and Gallo. I think this is Heck managing to... This is the difference between the tyres here. Look, so much more apex speed there. Heck goes up the inside of Gallo like it's just nothing. And Gallo down into 4th position. So those are the soft tyres right now. They do have to stop again, but Gallo is losing just a ton of time each lap here.
What were we expecting the pit stop lost time to be? About 11 seconds, something along the lines of that. What's Fraga got now? He's got about 6.5 seconds, I would say, there and thereabouts. He's probably got over Valerio Gallo at this stage. He needs to really build on that. How much clear air has he got? 7 seconds up the road in front, so he's doing all right. As it stands now is Igor Fraga, but as you say, Jimmy, he's got to run that final competent tyre, and that's barring any mistakes. Not that we usually see them from Igor Fraga, but stranger things have happened. There's a lot of pressure in these events. You can see Sasaki's front tyre is going to be crying out for mercy at the sharp end of this race. Surely he's going to have to come into the pits at the end of lap 22.
One of his races again, where it's a bit of a slow burn in the middle, all comes alive at the end, as I can see the gaps now starting to come down around the field. Here is Valerio Gallo. He'll be wondering whether he made that right choice going onto that hard compounded tyre. Only time will tell. Sasaki still out front. His lap time of 31.6. Igor Fraga's last lap time of 1:29.6. Easily the fastest lap of the race. Igor Fraga is charging right now in second place for Team Lexus, taking nearly 2 seconds out of Sasaki on that lap alone. So, but he needs to do this. He needs to bring this gap down as much as possible before they both go into that hard compounded tyre, and it just turns into a straight fight. So Fraga's got the tyre life. Why not just go and burn it?
Well, he needs to extend the advantage over Valerio Gallo as well, because of course Fraga's going to be on the hard compounded tyre. Gallo will have been on that compounded tyre for quite a while, but he needs to make sure that Gallo doesn't leapfrog him when Fraga makes his final pit stop in this race. There is Sasaki. Surely, again, I've said that for the last 3 laps, he's going to come into the pit lane for this one, but he seems to be quite calm and confident. 1:31.6 for him last time around. So getting gradually slower is the Japanese driver, but nothing doing for him at the moment. What's it down to? 5.5 seconds. It was 7 seconds a couple of laps ago, the gap between Sasaki and Fraga. So I wonder, is this race beginning to fall away from the Japanese driver? Is it coming back into the favour of Igor Fraga in the Lexus? Into the pit lane finally then comes Takuma Sasaki. He had to do that. If he went on for another lap, he would have really cost himself a fair bit of time. So he's going to go on to the hard compounded tyre for the final stint in this race. Is Takuma Sasaki then, and let's see how this is going to play out for him in the Porsche. Fraga is going to go through into the lead, but of course don't forget he's got one more pit stop left to run. Hard tyres then do indeed go on for Sasaki. Out of the pit lane we go. Where is the Japanese driver going to emerge, though? He's behind Fraga, but how far behind? That's the question, because Fraga needs another pit stop over him.
But as he come out ahead of Valerio Gallo, that'll be massive for Sasaki if he has, because then that is just, again, a fight to the end. Here is Sasaki. Where is Gallo? There he is then. Side by side, Gallo goes through up into third position. That is a disaster for Sasaki. So Valerio Gallo did barely enough there to hold that position. And now it's these two charging forward. These guys cannot afford to fight whatsoever if they want any chance of catching Fraga when he eventually boxes for that hard compounder tyre. Now him and both Robbie Heck in front, you can see they both are yet to take that soft compounder tyre, but Sasaki is not waiting around, almost pushing Gallo through that middle sector. I don't know, it's a hard one this. If you have the pace, you want to use the pace, but at the same time, if you're fighting like we saw earlier on, you just end up hemorrhaging time. And Gallo there, you see, struggling with the rear traction of the NSX as we come down now into a heavy braking zone. Left hand to him before we go up the hill. What sort of power does this Porsche have compared to the NSX sideways on exit?
Yeah, sideways there for Sasaki. That's going to cost him a tenth of a second or two. Gallo, of course, does not have the advantage of the slipstream like Sasaki has. We know that Porsche is pretty handy in a straight line. This is absolutely critical for Takuma Sasaki if he wants to take the victory here tonight in the Manufacturers' Cup. He needs to dispose of Valerio Gallo pretty promptly. Down the start finish straight we go into the first corner. Backs off of the throttle. He's going to try and get a lunge and a run down into turn 4. Just wants to sit in the wheel tracks of the Tag Heuer Porsche at the moment. Of the Honda at the moment, I should say.
So here we go then. Go down towards T4 again. Look from the view of the rear spoiler of Gallo, that Porsche menacing in the mirrors for Valerio Gallo, but cool head on the Italian shoulders as we come now through to the middle sector once again. Time running out for Igor Fraga. So the gap now between the leaders and this second contingent of runners on the hard compounder tyre is now 11 seconds. I wonder if Fraga has done enough. We'll have to wait and see. I'd love to see the tyres on Fraga's car, how they're holding up right now, but these guys right now just separated by virtually nothing. Sasaki again pushing Gallo through that middle sector. I think Sasaki really has a better car in that part of the circuit.
Yeah, Sasaki's looking pretty handy, as you say, isn't he? The mechanical grip of that Porsche looking pretty good. Keep an eye out for Guy Barbara in the background as well. I wonder if he could try and bring himself into the picture in that AMG. AMG have not won a race since 2019, believe it or not. Long time ago. They've always been there and thereabouts, but they've been the bridesmaid but not the bride on several occasions. Now, Sasaki, once again, part 386 of this battle or whatever it is between himself and Valerio Gallo as we come across the timing line once more. We're coming into the closing few laps of this race, and Sasaki pulls to the outside as Gallo goes for the defensive line. Down the start finish straight we go into turn 1. Gallo holds firm in third place for now.
So yeah, great by Gallo there just to keep Sasaki behind for now. But again, it's just fighting, but we love to see that. We love to see these fights here in the Gran Turismo World Series. The best drivers in the world in the best machinery squabbling for that grand final trophy. Coming now down again for another lap and running out of time is Sasaki and Gallo. I think maybe Sasaki is starting just to realise that if I stay here, I'm not going to have any sort of hope of catching Igor Fraga in front. Fraga, though, still out and still doing very competitive lap times, a 30.5 last time around from the Brazilian driver in the Lexus, and the tyres are holding on nicely for him, so I think it will be a last lap dash for Fraga to bolt on that hard compounder tyre. I'm quite surprised you don't have a minimum time for that that hard tyre, Tom.
Well, the thing is, this is exactly the sort of race that Fraga absolutely loves. He loves leading from the front. He loves being able to control it, set the pace, and just run his own race, not getting involved in all the silly little squabbles that happen up and down the field. And that's exactly the sort of circumstances that have befallen Igor Fraga so far. At the moment, this is the battle for the podium between Gallo and Sasaki. Once again, Barbara's just dropping off the back of the rest of these drivers as we come down the start finish straight once more. Fraga's lap time now into the 1:30, so he's not quite as quick as he was earlier on, but he's still about half a second to the good of the likes of Gallo and Sasaki. Around him even a bit more than that on occasion, as you can see there, up to 1.3, 1.4 seconds on some laps there. So Fraga looking pretty handy, but the tyres now beginning to come to the end of their life.
How about that for consistency? 130.35, 130.53, 130.57, so 400ths between lap times. That is the mark of a professional racing driver. Fraga, of course, the man that can do both. Fast in sim, fast in real life. Again, coming back to this battle between Sasaki and Gallo, and I don't know. I think they've started to really cost themselves. The gap now between Gallo and Fraga up to nearly 14 seconds. I think Fraga's got the time to basically pit whenever he likes at this point, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that calculation is correct.
It's a bold strategy, isn't it, running on those hard tyres for as long as they have done, but I don't think, as you say, it's going to be one that's going to be working out particularly that well. I don't think Robbie Heck's podium is for sure as well. He's in second position at the moment, but he's 6.8 seconds up the road from these two drivers, so plenty of time for things left to change. If these two start knocking 7 bells out of one another, that might be music to the ears of the American, but for now, he sits in a net second place, but I imagine it's going to be off the podium once it's all been said and done. So, Gallo, we ride on board with. Sasaki once again closes up under braking. You've got a Honda versus a Porsche then. Mid-engine versus mid-engine. Down the start-finish straight we go once more. 3 laps left to run here at the Autodromo de Interlagos. Gallo once again defending from Sasaki. Sasaki pulling to the outside. Is he going to use the straight line speed? He's going to make a move. Gallo moves over as we come back into the braking zone. Sasaki not going ahead and not moving up ahead of the Honda driver.
That's the closest he's been coming out of there. I don't know why he didn't go for the move there. I just feel at this point he's being held up and they can be quicker if Sasaki led the train. But the thing is, we're moving in now to the last couple of laps. They're not thinking about working together anymore. They're thinking about position. Igor Fraga out front, seemingly untouchable at the moment, but he's still yet to take his final pit stop. He's going to have to pit on the next lap. So we'll see if that is enough. The big thing to me is, has Robbie Heck done enough to stay ahead of Gallo and Sasaki for Team Mazda? That would be an amazing result for Team Mazda.
It'd be great. I don't think it's going to happen, personally. I'm sorry to not share your enjoying optimism there, Jimmy, but it's a long shot for Robbie Heck at the moment, I'll be honest. But stranger things have happened. We know how quickly the circumstances can change in the GT World Series. Here, though, is Igor Fraga. 8 seconds the advantage he's got over Robbie Heck. He's got a further 7 seconds over Valerio Gallo. We've got 2 laps left to run at the end of this one. When is the Brazilian going to come in to the pit lane? Will it be the end of this lap or will it be next time around? Next time around, I think. Yeah, looks like that.
Collected there, Igor Fraga doesn't look like he's breaking a sweat. Just another day at the races for Fraga in Team Lexus. 8 seconds the gap between now him and Robbie Heck, and 15 seconds the gap between him and Valerio Gallo in P3. Let's ride on board for a bit longer with Igor Fraga, seeing how a master practices his craft. We now go down through the second straight here. Important to get a good exit out of there, and they'll lay on the brakes, breaking the concrete on the right-hand side, their little concrete path, and through the next vector. Now, Gallo and Sasaki, part, what did you say it was, Tom? Part?
Yeah, it's about 4,024 now.
Still going.
Yeah. I know they've got magnets onto one another. They've been so close to each other for this number of laps. Great racing between the two, great respect. But, yeah, frustrating for Takuma Sasaki, I am sure, because Gallo doing a good job in that Honda to hold on to third place. He was buoyant, full of confidence coming into this weekend, was Gallo. He said that he reckons the Honda has got the pace finally to fight at the front, and a podium in their first event of the season, at the GT World Series events at least, will be a very welcome result for Valerio Gallo if he can pull it off. But at the moment, he's still got Sasaki breathing down his neck. Now is the time we're going to see Igor Fraga coming into the pit lane. At the end of this lap, he's got to come in and run at least 1 lap on the hard compound of tyre. And I'm fairly sure he's done enough to hold on to his race lead. Such is the pace of this final stint, or second but final stint, I should say, in this race.
There comes Igor Fraga, our leader, into the pit lane. Now, onto that hard compound tyre he will go. Has he done enough to retain the lead of this race? So a hard set of the Michelin slick tyres are being bolted on now to the Lexus. Keep an eye, Robbie Heck having to come in as well to take the hard tyre for himself. Watch the gap, watch the mini-map as well. It looks like Igor Fraga has done absolutely plenty. Here comes Gallo and Sasaki. They are nowhere near Igor Fraga, who's done a magnificent job on his stint there to stay ahead of these two. But now it's going to be a fist fight between Gallo and Sasaki for second place. There is Igor Fraga getting up to speed now, but not quite close enough. So last lap then for Igor Fraga. Gallo and Sasaki behind the gap, 2.4 seconds, a bit less than I thought it was to be honest. And Robbie Heck, unfortunately, not able to stay out ahead of the rest of the pack.
Yeah, not working at all out there for Robbie Heck, but now it is do or die time here for Takuma Sasaki in the Porsche. He has got to make this move stick on Valerio Gallo, but is he close enough? Gallo, we know he's a master of defensive driving, and he's doing enough at the moment. Sasaki has a look to the inside, into the right-hander, but the door is very firmly shut by Valerio Gallo. Half a lap left to run here in the Manufacturers' Cup Grand Final at Montreal. Igor Fraga, here comes Sasaki for the move on the inside against Valerio Gallo. It's a late lunge, and Gallo sweeps it back up and holds firm for second place. One more opportunity left for Sasaki under braking. Gallo's on the inside line, he's got track position. It'll be a drag to the line between these two. It's all about the exit out of this corner, but what a superlative drive it is from Igor Fraga and his home circuit at Interlagos. He comes to the timing line to win the Manufacturers' Cup Grand Final in World Series 1 for Lexus. It's a run to the line for second, and Gallo gets it by just a few hundredths of a second from Takuma Sasaki. Absolutely fantastic racing here in Montreal.
That was a masterclass from Igor Fraga and Team Lexus. And as you said, Tom, he just knows how to win the race from the front. Took it easy, took it at his own pace through that first stint there, and when he had to get the hammer down, he went. Fastest lap for Fraga, pole position, the win as well. Clean sweep for Fraga and Team Lexus, and Sasaki there, I think maybe brewing a couple of mistakes. I think that could have quite easily gone to Porsche that race as well if the strategy had been different. Great to see Gallo going over there as well and congratulating Fraga on the victory. Again, I don't understand why we saw the hard tyres so early from Gallo, but it came close at the end. But amazing race from this man. You can't take anything away. That is how you do it here at Gran Turismo.
Superb job from Igor Fraga then to take his first win in the Gran Turismo World Series in 2024. Let's look at some highlights then from that race. So Fraga started this one on pole position from Sasaki and Guy Barbara. Down to T1, it was always going to be a pretty clean affair because of the rolling start. Fraga held firm in the race and cleared off into the distance. We saw Gallo making a decisive and critical move there on Guy Barbara to move himself up onto the podium in the early stages of the race. We saw Sasaki closing up onto the back, and then this was the battle that raged on throughout the entirety of it. Gallo versus Sasaki, well, they were stuck to each other like glue.
These guys, what a fantastic race that was, all race long for Sasaki and Fraga. We saw a little bit of divergence in strategy there. Sasaki going very early on that soft compounder tyre. We thought actually at the time this could be a good decision, but it meant he ended up getting held up a bit later on. Some great battling throughout the field. Roach and Regalado there for BMW and Ferrari, and Inestrosa and Regalado in the walls as well. Inestrosa maybe underperforming somewhat in that BRZ, but it is what it is. Here is Sasaki's amazing move on Guy Barbara, sends it up the inside here. There was some great battling here. This, I think, maybe is where the race was decided between Gallo and Fraga. Fraga just a bit quicker in the earlier stage.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there, JB. This was Gallo versus Sasaki once more. They tried as hard as they could, didn't they, over the course of this one, but they just weren't able, or Sasaki was not able to make anything decisive. He had a look going into the final few laps, and he got really, really tight, especially as we headed on to the final lap. Sasaki with a deep lunge to the inside, as we saw, but this was Fraga, his final stop onto the hard competitive tyre, onto the final lap of the race, and that middle stint, or second but last stint, whatever you want to call it, was what got him the victory as he emerged through. This was the lunge we saw from Sasaki versus Gallo. It was a fair old chunk to go through on the inside, but it wasn't quite enough for him as Fraga came to the timing line. It was a drag to the line for a second, eventually with Valerio Gallo getting it by about 3 or 4 hundredths of a second.
Over 30 laps. That's a pretty mad finish there. And there you go, just a pat on the back for Igor Fraga. Nice to see him win again. You know, it's been a little while for Igor. I think it's great to see him show that emotion there. So here are your results for the grand final.
Yep, Igor Fraga takes first blood for Lexus here in the Manufacturers' Cup ahead of Valerio Gallo and Takuma Sasaki. Then it's Guy Barbara just off the podium for Mercedes-AMG, but a bit of a return to form for them ahead of Robbie Heck. And shout out to Adriano Carrazza, started 12th and last, got himself up into 6th and got, crucially, the final point in the World Series here today ahead of Inestrosa further down. Here is confirmation of those point standings. You can see Genesis, Ferrari, Chevrolet, BMW, Audi yet to score, but Lexus top the order then ahead of Honda and ahead of Porsche there in 3rd position as well. Really nice stuff. Really, really good race. But don't forget about the Michelin driver of the day as well. You can vote for that. Do you think it was Igor Fraga? Do you think it was Valerio Gallo? Do you think it was anybody else? Jimmy Broadbent, maybe?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I was pretty good in that race, I think. I think that if I was to pick anyone, it would be either Guy Barbara, for someone who, to be kind to Guy, maybe isn't always towards the front end of the field, but they're showing just how quick Mercedes can be, and maybe also to Karatsa from that 12th to 6th. It's very challenging to overtake in a field of drivers this strong.
Absolutely. Well, let's go down then to Jules. She is catching up with Igor Fraga, the winner from the Manufacturers' Cup here in Montreal.
Well, you remember before when we did the interview before and you were really concerned that, you weren't having that extra time to practice. Well, you didn't need it, did you? You just won. You just won. That was an amazing race. Talk us through your view of your strategy, because obviously we could see that it was basically just a whole lot of fighting behind you, but from your point of view.
Yeah, first of all, I'm very happy to be back at the top, because there was a few years that I haven't been, winning a race in the, either Manufacturers' Cup or Nations' Cup. So yeah, I'm very happy. And with the Lexus, we were struggling a little bit with tire wear. Yeah. Always at the end of the stint, we were struggling a lot. So, I couldn't take the strategy to make the tire last long. So we gambled to stop more and then try to, pick up a stronger pace. And it worked quite well. I had clean air through all the race. And fight behind me also helped me a little bit to, keep it clean. So I'm very happy.
But you like being out in front and just letting everyone else just fight behind you. That's your style.
Yeah, but at the beginning, I had a lot of pressure, and it was really tough to stay calm, and even though keeping the tires alive, because the front tire were really tough to make it all the way to the end of the stint.
Yeah, they went down super quickly. So, you've won round one. The pressure is off now. You've done your job. You're like, boom, I did my bit. Come on, guys, you got to do the rest. So, what are you going to pass forward? The pressure's on them now, right?
Yeah, but I think it's a great start. We know that, we have a competitive car. I think we have more understanding of, how does it work here. So, yeah, we'll try to, I'll talk with my teammates and let them do the job for the next rounds.
No pressure, but don't lose. Okay, all right. Huge round of applause for Igor Fraga. And back to you, Tom and Jimmy.
Yeah, cheers, Jules. The pressure's on. I don't know. I'd say the pressure's more on now, if anything. He's got a bit of a target on his back.
If I was sitting there as a Lexus driver, I'd be like, oh no, I've actually got to perform. What do I do? I don't know, but amazing race from Igor Fraga. And as we said, of course, 6 full points there. And
just noticing Bibendum behind us there for the Michelin driver of the day. Don't forget about that.
Have you got a pass?
Yeah, to be fair, they are pretty hot on the passes here this weekend. But yeah, just a shout about that Michelin driver of the day. Igor Fraga, commanding control drive, but also I just want to give a shout out to Adriano Karatsa in particular. Amazing job for him, right from the back of the field up into 6th place.
I think we do give him a little bit of grief sometimes, Karatsa, because he does come across quite as an aggressive driver sometimes. He was the first person to have the collide warning. But as I said before, going from P12 to P6 in a field of this strength is super impressive. You just wonder what could have happened if he had a better qualifying.
What about Takuma Sasaki? Missed opportunity, do you think?
I think so. I think, genuinely, he was the fastest man in the field. I think that it's a race that got away from him. He had the opportunity to make that work. I think just getting stuck behind cars. We had that middle stint where he came out about 3 seconds behind, I think it was Barbara and Heck, and he just got stuck there for a while. That's what killed his race. If you look at the gap at the end of the race, it was 2 seconds when Igor came out. And those are the sort of things that be going through his head now, so I'm sure he doesn't like me hammering them home on the commentary booth.
Well, also Robbie Heck as well in the Mazda. We saw some good performances from him, possible podium on the cards there. But again, like you said, the race just kind of fell away from him and he didn't have the opportunity when it was there.
Yeah, Heck, I think top 5 for him. Fantastic result for him and Mazda. So, yeah, he should be proud of himself.
Right, it's time to get the podium underway then, shall we, for the Gran Turismo World Series here in Montreal. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome 3rd place here for round 1 of the 2024 Gran Turismo World Series in Montreal in the Manufacturers' Cup for Team Porsche. It is Takuma Sasaki! 2nd place, driving for Team Honda from Italy. Please give it up for Valerio Gallo. And the winner Manufacturers Cup for World Series 1 here in Montreal. Driving for Lexus, it's Brazil's Igor Fraga! And now, ladies and gentlemen, please stand if you're able for the national anthem. The national anthem of Japan plays out for our winning manufacturer of Lexus, piloted by Igor Fraga here in Montreal. What a superb job from all of our podium finishers here. And now it is time for the trophies to be presented. The third place trophy will be awarded by Kazunori Yamauchi, the producer of the Gran Turismo series, to a rapturous applause here in Canada. Third place then going to Takuma Sasaki for Team Porsche. A podium for them in their first event of the season. Second place to Valerio Gallo for Team Honda. And the winner of World Series 1, driving for Team Lexus, it is Igor Fraga. Top honours for Team Lexus here in Montreal. Let's get a look at the points rankings then after the opening round of the season. And of course it does reflect that race result. Jimmy, Lexus with an advantage going into the next round of the GT World Series.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, having full points straight away, amazing start to their season. Honda and Porsche, of course, in hot pursuit. AMG, Mercedes, Mazda and Toyota also on the board of points so far, with Subaru, Genesis, Ferrari, Chevrolet and BMW Audi with it all to do as we go into round 2 and 3.
Yep, and rounds 2 and 3, well, round 2 at least, will be taking place in Prague, in the Czech Republic. We're going there for the first time in the Gran Turismo World Series. I am very, very excited for that, not only for the great races, but also for the fact that you can get beer for a quid as well.
Yeah.
I'm an easy man to please.
That's the important thing for you at the time.
I've got my priorities in the right order. But Prague, the Czech Republic, that's where World Series 2 will be hosted on the 10th of August, as you can see. Beautiful city, loads of history. I cannot wait, Jules.
Yeah, hi. Look, I'm back at the desk. What fun. How are you guys doing? All right, that was pretty good, eh?
That was all right, yeah.
That was all right.
The A. You're learning the lingo here already.
What lingo? I didn't say it was what magic. What's the one he always says like it's magic? No, what is it? Mega.
Oh, mega.
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 That's,
Yeah.
I haven't used that one yet.
Well, now you will, because I've implanted it in your head.
Yeah, wait for the Nations Cup later on.
Yeah. Well, that was amazing. Obviously, coming up next, we have got the Nations Cup, so don't go anywhere. We're going to have a little sit-down, cup of tea. We're going to come back with some more racing. It's going to be great. 7th year of Gran Turismo World Series. 7.
How much older do we look?
Don't answer that question.
We don't want to know the answer to that question. But yeah, 7 years is pretty... It looks good.
I mean, what a way to kick it off as well. You know, Lexus, great job from Igor Fraga. Yes. Amazing performance. And, you know, start as they mean to go on. That's a great way to kick it off your list.
Absolutely. And he was smiling at the end there.
Yeah, I
which
mean...
he doesn't smile until it's really,
And that's you off his Christmas card list.
No, but he's very, very focused on what he's trying to do. And that was some spectacular racing, honestly. That was right up until the end there. You enjoy that?
It's great to see Lexus back because, of course, Lexus are original winner of the Manufacturers Series all the way back in 2018, as you said 7 years ago. Yeah, but great to see him back in form again.
Yeah, well, we have had a spectacular, is it evening? It's sort of evening so far. Don't go anywhere because the Nations Cup is coming up less. My name is Jules, this is Tom and Jimmy. We'll see you very, very soon for more from the Gran Turismo World Series.